Okay, so now we'll understand about the user input. So how exactly we can take input from the user. So we'll understand this from the help of this code. So user input. So suppose I'm going to take one variable a equals to 10. So you need to understand this. This is a variable and this is the value. And this value was taken by me. Me means I'm the coder. So I've taken this value by my own. Now, what I want is, I want this value should be entered by the end user. So, in order to do this, we will going to take the user input. So, how exactly we can take input from the user in Python is, first we will create a variable. Let's say variable is x equals to. Now, I have to use input function in order to take input from the user. In this input function, I'll pass one statement. Suppose I want to convey to the user like enter a number or enter a name or enter a age, whatever I want from the user, I'll convey him with the help of this statement. So in this case, I'll write enter a number. So let's understand this, how exactly this would work. So first, in very first phase, what will happen? This statement will get printed out to the user screen. For example, enter a number. So this statement will get printed out first and then input function will get activated and you will see a cursor after this and it will wait for the user input. Suppose you have passed a value, let's say 34, and just after that you have pressed the enter button. Now what will happen? This 34 will get into this X. Now let's understand what exactly will happen. When you press the enter button, this 32 will get stored into this variable x. Now, if I'm going to print the value of x, this will give me 34. This 34. But make sure if I'm going to write x in this form, now what will happen? This is a string. This is not a variable. So in this case, what will happen? It will print the x as it is. Now, you need to understand one more thing. This input function, it will always accept data in string form. So you need to understand this. This input function will always take your data in string form. Now, just after this, we'll understand one more thing. Suppose I want to take user input of two numbers and we have to display the solution of those two numbers. So how exactly we will do this? Suppose we'll take two variables a equals to input, enter first number. Now second variable b equals to input, enter second number. Now I have to display its summation. So in order to do the summation, what I'm gonna take is I'm gonna take print because we need to display something. So I'm gonna use print function and then inside the print function, I'll use a plus b. Now understand this code. Suppose I'm gonna execute this code basically what will happen in this code? First, suppose user will pass some random value, let's say, for example, 5. Here it will pass, let's say, 4. So, generally, it should give us the solution of these two numbers, a plus b, which is 9. But in this case, what will happen is it will give us 54. As I said before, you need to understand this. Input function will take your input, but always in string form. So, what actually has happened in the backend? So it has taken this file in string form for string form. You need to understand one basic thing. We can add two numbers. We can add two numbers. If they are integers, we can add the no out. So we'll get 9. But in case of string, suppose this is my string. This is also my string. Now what will happen? It won't get added. Instead of that, what will happen? It will concatenate. So because these are string. If we're adding two string, they will always concatenate. So this will give us 54 in string form. So this is what actually happening here. So in order to resolve this problem, what we have to do is we have to use one process which is typecast. So typecasting means when we have to change the data type of one variable. So here you can see the data type of this, the input function, it will always accept data in a string form. And we need to convert this data into the integer. So what I can do is I'll put the entire statement into the parentheses and I'll put int function. Similarly, I'll use the same thing. This second input will put in. Now what will happen? First, it will take the input from the user. Let's say the input is 5. And by default, as I said before, input will take the input in string form, in this form. But now you can see this string is again enclosed with int function. Now what will happen? It will convert this input into the integer. Same thing will happen in the B case. B, when we take the input for B. Suppose user entered 4. Firstly, it will consider as string, but out of that, we have int. So it will again convert that into the integer. And just after that, it will display A plus B. Now, in this case, we have numbers. This is also a number. This is also a number. It will sum up. And now this will give us 9. So this is what we have in addition. Suppose if you want to take the input decimal numbers, so in that case, what we can do is we need to use here float in case of float. And my one question, suppose I want to take a string from the user or two string from the user, then in that case, what will happen? So generally, student they will answer कि we have to use string function. But no, you need to understand input function by itself. It will take data into the string form. So when we want to take string input from the user, we don't use str function. Instead of that, what we will use the input function as it is because it is by default it is taking data into the string form. So this is what we have in user input.